We're classy, no charades. Payroll baddies, bring it fire, get paid. Payroll baddies, bring it fire, get paid.
PayrollBADIes. Welcome to another one of our podcasts. So excited today. We have a special segment for you today, so stay tuned. But before we do that, let's talk about some new news. Anybody hear about the new SAP Databricks announcement? Yeah. No, it's not Legos, Jesse. This is something else. All right.
I was like, boring. I don't like
I
Legos.
know.
That's
But
annoying.
but for today, we won't really be talking about it because we have a special guest joining us today. So stay tuned. Baddies out. Welcome. We have our special guest here, and to introduce her, I would like to do this kind of a fight style. Ready? Our esteemed CRO of SAP SuccessFactors, a proud graduate of Georgia, enthusiast of hiking, cooking, and gardening, and last but not least, a certified payroll baddie. Let's give it up for Maryann Abbajay.
Let's go.
Thank you, Raj. Woo, go dog.
Let's get pumped. One of the best
excited.
intros ever.
So good.
Very
Welcome.
cool.
I'm curious how heavy that chain is around your neck, Maryann. That's some serious playing. You're showing us all up.
I have three
Wow.
signs,
You-
as well
you
as
guys
my
know
heavy chain. So I'm
Love
all in,
it.
guys. I'm all in.
You're representing well. You're representing well. Love it.
Yes, you are. Well, you've been collecting chains since Portugal, I think. And
I
I
have.
love that you're ready to throw down, especially with that introduction, Raj. That was perfect. So, Maryann, thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited that you're here. To start, you need no introduction, but truly, you have such an incredible story. And I think for all of our payroll baddies listening, it would be really great for them to get to know Maryann, who's behind the shades, underneath the money cap, who's got all that weight around her neck. But one of the things that I would love for you to share too as part of that, as a chief revenue officer for my organization, I understand there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. Your employees, your customers. And while it's a very special job, I have to say one of my favorite jobs, my most favorite role is actually that of being a mother. And so I think you have an incredible, Todd, careful, get him some tissues. But I would love for you, for a little bit, Maryann, you took, I don't know that you would call it a career break or a transition, because being a mother is such an incredible role. It's so vital and important. Share with us, what was that like? What led you to that? What did you learn from that, and how was it to come back?
Absolutely. So Dave and I had been trying to get pregnant for 8 years. When we finally did, we had been at both Oracle and Cisco very, very early. And we wanted to take the time with the kids. So we actually both took 10 years off. We were both in high tech. We moved up to Oregon. We bought a feed store. We bought a trailer business. We did some very different things. But in that feed store and trailer business, we realized payroll is a critical function. So it all kind of comes full circle. So we have 4 kids. We have 2 grandkids. Coming back was not easy. Leaving was easy. Coming back after 10 years, look at what's happened in the last 2 years with AI, how much things have changed. Think about 10 years. And although maybe we weren't at that same fast pace, I'll give you a great example. My brother wanted to show me a product. He said, I'll send you a link. Click the link. I clicked the link and he's talking to me. And there's something on my screen. And I'm like, what is this thing? Am I looking at your computer screen? He's like, Maryann, it's WebEx. Come on. So, that didn't exist when I left. Thank God I was talking to him and not a potential employer, because they would have been like, whoa, lady, we're out.
I love that. I love that. You're right. And you think about all that SAP's done in the last 2 years compared to the last 20. I know Dan shared a lot about that as Success Connect in Portugal. So I can imagine during those 10 years, the shift. You also mentioned payroll when you had your feed store. Tell us about you were running payroll, it sounds like then.
Yeah, I was. I was actually the back office and the chicken lady. But anyway, look, we had a bunch of minimum wage employees. Like if payroll didn't work, it wasn't like they had savings that they could tap into to pay their rent, pay their electric bill, et cetera. So it was mission critical. And it did allow me to kind of step back and think about what I had been selling at Oracle, because I was selling the full ERP. And I think it made me a much better salesperson when I came to SAP, because I truly understood that things like payroll are critical systems. I also used, supply chain, inventory, accounts receivable, accounts payable, all things that I had sold, but didn't really have a great appreciation for.
Wow. And then you came into the SAP world. You came in back into the world of tech carrying the bag, correct?
Yep, I did. So a bunch of my Oracle friends had left Oracle and moved to SAP. And they said, this is great. You have to come over. And I was like, oof, I don't know. I was very early at Oracle. But anyway, they were persuasive. So I came to SAP thinking, we'll see how this works out. Here I am 18 years later, and it's been such an amazing ride. Why? Because SAP is an incredible company, and it allows just so many different opportunities. I was on the generalist side for the majority of my career, but about 5 years ago, they tapped me and said, would you like to run SuccessFactors? And I'm like, oh yeah, I know a lot about HR. Well, of course, I realized very quickly I knew nothing about HR. So it's been a great learning experience. It was in the middle of COVID. So I got to meet with a lot of great CHROs who basically educated me on what it means to actually help employees, especially during a global pandemic.
Wow. What a time for learning, right? We stopped learning, we stopped growing, and it sounds like you were very open to learning from them. Now, is this attire that you're wearing today, Maryann? Is this what you would wear to those meetings, or has that changed too?
Well, I'll tell you, Jesse, to my next payroll-specific customer meeting, just wear this. It's pretty awesome.
That's awesome. Hey, I actually have a confession to make. So when I found out Maryann was going to be the guest, so, we met in San Diego, invited to the podcast. We were having a conversation in our planning, and I think everyone was asking, okay, what version of our suit do we wear? We got a couple of different ones now. We've made it a thing, and I was like, oh, let's go with red. And I kind of let them think it was like a holiday thing or that type of thing. But the truth of the matter is, I just wanted everyone to enjoy
that. I love it.
Imran.
I love it, Imran.
I didn't tell them that. I didn't tell them.
Way to suck up, Imran. Way to suck up. All right.
Yeah. They wouldn't understand, Rod. Although it's Chiefs colored, but I don't know if you want to talk about that right now.
Let's not talk about that, please.
Very clever. Actually, Maryann, one last thing. When you think about your outfits that you've worn, I have a memory, too, of a Success Connect a few years ago when JC on the street popped out of a bush to interview you, and he was asking who you were wearing, which was very lovely. But all I remember is you yelling, "I'll have your head, Jesse." So I think it was...
Hey,
so I hear that on repeat. Yeah. So all in good fun. So, let's keep talking payroll.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Right.
So real quick question, Maryann, for me, going down the payroll memory lane here and your experience also with those critical mission employees you had before. Tell us a little bit about what you've seen in the evolution of payroll from your perspective, from your lens, from your baddie lens right now.
Well, it's funny because when I was thinking about my first paycheck, right? As a college grad, right? After I got out of college, my first paycheck, I still remember getting that paycheck and being like, oh my God, I've never made this much money in my life.
I'm rich.
I can do whatever. And so what do? I go out and replace my 66 Ford Fairlane with a really super cool, matter of fact, velour seats, people, velour.
Oh, nice.
Seats. All
It,
right.
it was a champagne colored Cutlass Supreme. But hey, back then we didn't have all of the things that we have today. And one of the things I was thinking about was the new AI capability that's coming called Ask My Payslip. That is something that I think is going to be pretty game changing because today, think about it. You're a shift worker. You get off at 11 o'clock. You're taking a look at your paycheck at 1 o'clock when you get home. And you're like, well, this doesn't look right. I've got a question. What are you going to do? Well, you're certainly not going to call anybody, right? You're probably going to put in a ticket. You're probably going to wait 24 to 48 hours, and that's on a good day, right? To get the answer. And so Ask My Payslip allows you to immediately just query, why is this that way? Why didn't I get this much? What is this weird thing that's on my payslip? And get an immediate answer. So again, it's kind of about trust and transparency for the employee so that they have a much better experience and feel good about what they're doing, where they're working, etc.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, that's a huge evolution, right? Because they're coming out at whatever time, 2 a.m., 6 in the morning, whatever shift they work, and now they're getting an immediate answer. So I'm excited about that too, for sure.
Yeah. So Maryann, I mean, I guess kind of leading up to that, right? Like, let's kind of talk about payroll and sort of tying that back to like the S4 finance, all of these things that are kind of happening. One of the things that I know I've heard recently, and I'm sure a lot of us here as well, is, how are we tying sort of the whole integration between, HR and finance together, right, to kind of make payroll essentially more efficient and reliable, right? So I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts around, what have you seen and what are we doing as SAP and SuccessFactors to kind of help customers drive that adoption?
Absolutely. So look, when I started at SAP, we sold the full suite. At the time, it was ECC. Today, we're selling the business suite. Why? Because payroll and finance are tied together, right? I mean, you can't do one with the other. And so, although payroll is very local, and that's why we have 57 localized versions of payroll in our ECP product and over 100 in our private cloud payroll, because localization matters with payroll. But bottom line, it's part of a global topic, right? Compliance is huge. Tying that into S4 seamlessly, that's what you get with SAP and with the business suite.
100%. I mean, I think that is what truly makes SAP sort of a leader, right, in terms of payroll. There's nothing like it, right? And it's great to hear all the advancements and the innovations that were coming out, right? And the other thing I know, I'm also kind of curious about, and Todd, I'd love to kind of hear your thoughts as well. But around sort of the whole managed service providers, right? The way that, we also hear in the market where customers are looking at, well, we want to do payroll, but it's in-house outsourced, right? Like, how do we address that? So I'm curious to hear maybe, Maryann, your thoughts around, like, how is SAP kind of advising and coaching customers to kind of make that move as well?
Absolutely. Thanks for the question. Look, bottom line, I mean, we have a number of managed service partners. They've been our partners for many, many years. Many of them were running on-premise payroll. Over the last year, we've moved about 70% of them to the cloud, and we'll complete that this year. But bottom line is the customer needs choice. The customer may opt to outsource certain countries from a payroll perspective, but keep larger countries in-house. So that hybrid way of working, no longer do we think of, oh, you're always going to outsource or you're always going to keep it in-house. We're basically looking at serving the customer where they want to be. And that may be both outsourced and in-house, depending on what's going on in their world.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I see too is like we talked about your early career, PayrollBADies deserve some time off too to be with their families. And this hybrid approach is a perfect like vehicle for flexibility and agility for our customers. Our payroll leader for Singapore wants to take some time off. We can go to the managed service provider and say, hey, I'd like you to augment my staff for 6 months or 8 months or a year or 2 years, whatever it takes. But it allows that flexibility so that they can, give their employees some freedom to live a good life.
I love that because, look, our PayrollBADies, where would we be without them? Bro.
That's right.
Exactly. Love it.
Absolutely. You know what? One other thing too. I had 2 questions. I'll say one for later, but I heard a little birdie / payroll dashboard told me that there was a threshold that was crossed on Friday. You care to comment?
Well, I'm going to steal a little bit of thunder probably from our marketing organization, but guys, I'm doing it because our PayrollBADies deserve to
exclusive. Here we go.
Wow.
Are you ready?
Wow. Yes.
We passed the 1 billion payslip level. Is that incredible?
Wow.
That's amazing.
1 billion served.
Well done.
That
Congratulations.
is amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Great stuff. And so,
Is that?
what's that? EC for ECP. Yeah, in our cloud
ECP.
product.
Yeah. I mean, it's even higher when you include all of the other stuff. That's ECP.
Tens of billions.
Yeah.
Tens of billions.
Yeah.
Wow.
But this is for cloud.
We've been talking a lot about payroll, but Maryann, again, I know I've heard you're a big sports fan. Obviously, we know you love for Georgia. But what's your NFL flavor? What do you like there?
Great question. My favorite is the Seahawks. Unfortunately, our season ended early this year.
Yeah.
So, do we want to talk about the Super Bowl? Do we?
I guess
No.
it's still hurting a lot. I want to say that.
It was the game.
It
man.
a lot.
It was like,
Maryann, who are you cheering for?
Sad picture.
Who are you cheering for?
Look, guys, I'm sorry, but Kansas City has had their day, and our North America headquarters is in Newtown Square, 45 minutes from Philadelphia. So fly, Eagles, fly.
If there's one thing I learned from the Super Bowl is how to spell Eagles, because I heard it over and over again on how to spell Eagles. So at least my spelling is up to speed. So.
Set yourself up for that.
Yeah. It's okay.
Before we go to the payroll questions, we run into each other a lot in airports, Maryann, even though we live in the same town.
Me too.
I remember running into you and maybe some family on your trip to Japan.
Yep.
You get to travel the world seeing all of our customers and all the PayrollBADies that are out there. Where's your favorite place to go? And what's your favorite cuisine in those places?
It really is a tough question. For whatever reason, I do tend to spend a lot of time in Paris. I've become exec sponsor for a lot of customers in France. And, I actually was a French major in school before I flipped to information systems. And I do love me some French cuisine. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, we just took the kids and the grandkids to the French Alps, which was super cool, an area we'd never been to. And we had raclette. And I have to say, that whole thing, raclette, fondue, I think that's probably one of my favorites because it's all about, getting around whatever it is, the pot, the huge wheel of cheese, the raclette, little oven. And I just think it's more intimate. So that would probably be my favorite.
You had me at cheese.
Yeah. In our family, when we do a raclette, we have it so you cannot leave the table until the cheese wheel is done. So and no phones. So no phones.
I love that, Todd.
It's awesome.
I love that.
A lot of cheese.
All
right.
And so I have a question for you. This is I want to take this a different direction. I've been
Okay.
about this. So comes from my inspiration as a listener of sports podcast. Back to our original conversation here, where the guests get to give a fun story, right? And so to give you an example, last year Todd and I were at an event in New York City, right? And so this was a payroll event, and this guy told the story of having to get on a private jet and go to a warehouse, and then they printed checks, and it was all in an emergency, and it's funny how payroll takes you different places. So I know from this conversation, you've talked to so many customers, potential customers over the years, all the way at the highest level of an organization, right? And the C-suite. And so I know you've worked a lot of other interesting roles too, talking about your past history.
Yep.
Tell us the most interesting payroll story you've heard. And so this could be amazing transformation, or it could just be an absolute nightmare with millions of dollars in fines. So completely up to you, but
Dealer's choice.
No nightmares. No nightmare stories on payroll.
not SAP, of course, but
Not with SAP. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
go for it.
I would say, and I'm going to talk about multiple large customers who were in the middle of a payroll transformation and kind of the amalgamated version. When you go through that, you work for months, right? Months on doing the testing, doing the UAT, checking the integrations, making sure that everything's flawless. But as you literally go to flip the switch, in almost every case, we're all usually together, whether actually in person or virtually, we're together. And you flip the switch and you start the payroll run, and you're, just waiting for whatever the problem is. And in a couple of these situations, we had slowness issues, like what's going on? Things are running slow. How do we fix that? Fortunately, in every single case that I've been involved in, we've had products literally on the phone. And so they were immediately able to basically go to the data center team and say, yeah, let's ramp it up. Let's add more servers. Let's do whatever we need to do to fix the slowness issue that we've got going on. So I've never had a debacle. I've never had a situation where we weren't able to pay people. We were always able to course correct whatever was going on. We're pointing to the wrong URL, or we've got an integration that's not 100% right. Whatever it was, we've been able to course correct. So I guess what I would say is, our payroll baddies out there in the world, our payroll people are such rock stars, and they take so personally the importance of paying people correctly on time. And I would say that's probably what I love about this particular space. I can't say that for maybe some other, go lives that we were doing, but payroll's always pretty doggone close to perfect.
Yeah, kudos for that.
Amen.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So Maryann, I guess this was very enlightening, and I want to thank on behalf of everyone, just all of your insights and amazing stories that you've shared. I did want to ask one more question before we kind of wrap things up. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh, that's easy. It's kind of back to how we started this conversation about motherhood. I don't know about you, Jesse, but gosh, how many times are you making breakfast for your kids, trying to get them out the door, or picking them up after school, and you're on a call? And what are you doing the whole time? You're shushing them. I'm on a call. I'm on a call. I would absolutely tell my younger self, and this applies to men as well, be present. Be present with your kids. Fortunately, my kids, I've written a blog about that, and my kids are like, Mom, it's fine. We were okay. Don't worry about it. But, I regret.
Yeah.
So,
You always feel the guilt, 100%.
I do. I
feel that.
Yeah.
Feel that too, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'll leave
I
you
love
with.
that. Thank you for
Great
that.
advice. Thanks.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Maryann. We appreciate your time, and again, for being a true representative of payroll baddies. And I'm sure all the payroll baddies out there listening they're going to enjoy getting to know you a little bit better. So thank you again.
Hey, thank you guys, and thanks for the bling. It's been
Great.
Yeah.
Woo!
Whoa.
Woo! Thanks.
So listen, thanks a lot for joining us. Thank you very much, Maryann. And thank you to my other baddies for not throwing me under the bus and telling stories. You guys are awesome. Good to have my boss on the phone, right? I tell you what, I keep seeing go live notices on the internet, on LinkedIn, for companies going live on SAP Payroll. Get a hold of us. We'd love to celebrate you and ordain a bunch of new baddies. Jesse, over to you.
Oh, yeah. I want to make sure everyone's aware that HR Connect is returning, and it's soon. So please, please, please register for all those baddies out there. There's no cost to attend HR Connect. It's in Washington, D.C. again this year, March 26th. So we'll drop a link as well and share that. But we would love for you to join us. The baddies will be there. Join the baddies for breakfast. So breakfast with the baddies.
Look out for a chain.
We'll have a bunch.
So,
You can get your own chain. And we will be having a lot more HR Connects, but because we have Connect in Las Vegas, this will be the only one in North America or in the U.S.
Yep.
But stay tuned. We'll have a ton more around the world, Europe and Asia. But please, if you can make it to the U.S. one in Washington, D.C., come join us. Sonny,
Absolutely.
any final words?
Absolutely. Yeah. So team and guys, love this content. We had an amazing speaker today. If you want to keep hearing more, keep seeing more, please like, subscribe, follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and we just crossed our 1,000 follower mark on LinkedIn. So that's a big breakthrough, and we're super excited to follow more and bring you guys more exciting content. So looking forward to it, and we'll stay tuned for the next episode.
All right. Baddies out.
Peace out.
Yo, it's PayrollBADIes. We keeping it hype, doing payroll right. We don't need no stripe. Work they calling y'all rock stars, ain't that cute? Dave Force, UKG, y'all still in pursuit. But we baddies in the game, bringing more to the loop. Yo, baddies bring the clarity, got clarity in sight. We bringing payroll tech, making it right, spreading the word. From S4 to the cloud, Baddies got the vision, making payroll proud. SAP Payroll is king, we wearing the crown. Those companies starting with P, y'all know the name. Try to keep up, but it's not the same. Tech on lock, we automating the flow. No more headaches, we let that payroll glow. Innovating daily, got the future on deck. PayrollBADies, running it, showing respect. So all the PayrollBADies, you know who you are. Join the cause, let's take it far. All you baddies out there, it's time to rise. Join the movement, no compromise. Keep your rock stars, we're classy, no charades. PayrollBADies, rain and fire, get paid. PayrollBADies, rain and fire, get paid. Yo, you're with baddies in the game. PayrollBADies.